Listen closely, because for the next 15 seconds, your heart will ask a question that only this story can answer. What if the thing following you every day, the quiet shape on the ground that never speaks, was the only proof that you still belong to this world, and one night you sold it for money? If I told you that wealth came fast like Hamatan wind, but every sweet thing suddenly tasted like ash, would you still take the deal? Keep your breath steady, because before we reach the end, you will learn why people in a small Nigerian town fear a man who walks under the sun with nothing trailing behind him, and why I, the one telling you this, know his secrets better than anyone alive. Now, let me begin. And if you're just joining us, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up, and turn on the notifications bell so you never miss a story like this one. I will tell you a story that smells like red earth after rain and sounds like a drum at dusk. It happened in Nigeria, in a town where palm trees lean and gossip, where market women count change with quick fingers, where boys kick a plastic ball until darkness eats the last light. In that town lived a young hunter named Ikenna. His back was strong, his eyes sharp like a farmer's cutlass, and his heart was full of quiet hunger. Not hunger for food, that one he could solve with roasted yam. I mean hunger for more. More land for his mother to farm, more books for his little sister to read, more respect from people who counted wealth by the length of their fence. He was tired of hearing, one day it go better. He wanted today to answer. Every dawn, Ikenna carried his old Dane gun into the forest beyond the farms, a place where the air was cool and the birds acted like they knew secrets humans had forgotten. He hunted bushmeat for the market at Inteje, close to Onitsha, where traders haggled like wrestlers. Sometimes he slept in the forest, listening to frogs write music on the water's skin. The elders warned that the deeper forest was a different country, a place where rules wore slippers and walked softly. There are spirits there, his mother said, tapping his shoulder with a small Bible. Pray before you go. He nodded. But you know how the hunger for better life can make warnings sound like rain far away. One evening, under a sky that looked like a bruise, Ikenna met a girl at the borehole. Her name was Adaora. She lived with her aunt who sold smoked fish by the roadside. Adaora's laugh was like the sound of spoons in a glass cup, light and bright. She teased Ikenna for wearing the same faded cap every day, and he teased her for rolling her eyes when a boy tried to flirt. They started walking home together, carrying water on their heads, talking about small things that felt big, how school fees bite like stubborn mosquitoes, how dreams sometimes pretend to sleep when you call them. He told her he would build a house with a blue roof one day. She said, make the veranda wide so we can hear the rain sing. They did not call it love yet, but anybody passing them could smell something sweet like ripe mango. Still, the pocket stayed light. One morning in the market, a councilman wearing a big agbada looked at Ikenna's bushmeat and laughed a small wicked laugh. Hunter, your stock is thin. In this life, nobody respects empty hands. The words struck Ikenna like a cane. He smiled on the outside, but on the inside, something said, find a way. That same week, his sister was sent home for not paying exam fees. His mother returned from farm holding her back, pain living there like a tenant that refused to leave. Ikenna looked at the sky and said, God, show me road. The forest answered first. You see, there's a part of the forest people whisper about, a place where the trees bend like elders arguing. Hunters say if you walk there at dusk, your own footstep will not trust you. That evening, the sun slid down like a tired plate, and Ikenna followed a wounded antelope deeper than he had ever gone. He found no antelope. He found a clearing he had never seen, a flat rock like a sleeping animal, and a small pool that did not show his face when he looked into it. Instead, the water was dark like cola nuts. He felt a chill that had nothing to do with the wind. Still, hunger pushed him forward. Who walks with no counsel? A voice asked. Not loud, not soft, just there. Ikenna looked around, heart beating. Who is that? Names are heavy, the voice said, and the pool bent like a smile. But if you must, call me Unwali, child of the old woods. You pray for a road. Are you ready to walk it? I don't talk to shadows, Ikenna said, but his voice shook. The water moved as if laughing. You talk to your own shadow every day, but you do not listen. You want wealth? I can open your hands, but gifts have twins. Blessing and prize. Will you hear the terms? Ikenna thought of his mother's medicine, his sister's fees, Adara's dream of a blue roof house. Speak. Simple, the spirit said. I will fill your life. Your traps will return heavy. Your farms will obey rain. Your name will sit where elders eat. In return, I will take your shadow. Ikenna blinked. My shadow? That one is nothing. Take it. Be careful, the spirit sang. A shadow is not nothing. It is your receipt in the world of unseen things. Without it, certain doors will no longer know you. Some mirrors will not respect you. Some eyes will feel fear when they look at you in the noon, or you will enjoy wealth. Do you accept? Ikenna swallowed. He stood on the rock. He thought of Adara's eyes shining in candlelight. He thought of the councilman's laughter. He forgot the small, quiet things that makes a life. A boy's shadow dancing with him when he runs. A mother checking for that shadow when her son is late. He said, I accept. The moon sighed like a flute. The trees leaned. The moon, not yet visible, seemed to blink awake. The forest spirit rose like smoke, thin and tall, wearing a cloak of leaves and evening. He touched Ikenna's feet with a finger that felt cold and cold. For a heartbeat, all sound stopped. When the world resumed, Ikenna looked down and saw only dust, no shadow. He lifted his hands to his face and felt light, like something had been peeled away. Go, the spirit said, voice sweet and far. You will not lack. From that night, fortune followed Ikenna like a loyal dog. His first trap caught three grass cutters when it should hold one. The second week, he discovered a cluster of wild honey that had been hidden for years. The bees somehow calm as if their hunger took leave. He sold the honey in Onitsha. Buyers fought to add more money. A trader from Aba introduced him to a restaurant in Enugu that paid double for bushmeat. He bought a motorbike, then a second one for his cousin to run Okada. He repaired his mother's leaking roof. He finished his sister's fees for the whole year, even extra. People started saying his name with a small lift at the end, like a song that tastes good in the mouth. He smiled, but sometimes at noon, he stood outside and something in his belly turned because the sun could not find him on the ground. At first, only children noticed. A little boy spilling sachet water paused one hot day and whispered, Uncle, where's your shadow? Ikenna laughed and bought all his water. The boy forgot. But children are messengers. They carried the whisper like kittens carry leaves from one corner to another. Soon, the market women also began to look long when he passed. Some crossed themselves. Some said maybe he used powder stronger than pepper. Adara heard the talk and met him by the mango tree near the borehole. She touched his cheek. My love, tell me the truth. The sun follows everyone. Why does it leave you? He looked away. It is nothing. Old forest medicine to scatter enemies' eyes. Adara was quiet. She did not like lies. Even sweet one tastes bitter later. But she loved him, so she folded the doubt and kept it like a note under a pillow. They planned small things, matching wrappers for her aunt's Thanksgiving, a new store for smoked fish, a tiny blue roof house at the edge of town where a pawpaw tree could grow. Ikenna started a farm. He hired boys, he paid rapidly, and they clapped for him. He bought a car that smelled like plastic and promise. He wore new shirts, and the councilman now greeted him first, calling him my young philanthropist. Everything he touched turned to story. Yet, each noon, he stood like a question in the road. You may ask, why didn't the church or the imam or the shrine catch him and drag him back to sense? My friend, people see what money tells them to see. Pastors blessed him. Afals prayed for him. The dibia nodded slow like he knew a bigger matter, but kept quiet because the boy was respectful and generous. When your hands are open, people pour prayers inside. One night, after a big delivery to Enugu, Ikenna drove back late on the old road through the forest. The radio played a love song from Port Harcourt, and the moon sat like a coin in the window of the city. Suddenly, his headlights found a woman standing at the center of the road, alone, calm, wearing a white dress that did not fear dust. He hit the brake. The car coughed. The woman walked to his window with the ease of someone returning home. Good evening, traveler, she said. He couldn't speak. Something in her face felt familiar, like a name on the tip of his tongue. She smiled, small and sad. I came to see how you are spending what you borrowed. Felt cold even though the night was warm. Borrowed? You sold your shadow, she said. Do not pretend. Some prices are so loud that even trees can hear. Are you happy, Ikenna? He stared. Who are you? Someone who remembers the day you were born, she said. Someone who knows how thin a promise can be. I will tell you what your first friend will not. The prize is not only your shadow, it is every protection that shadow carried. Your dreams will soon begin to tear like old cloth. A time is coming when your reflection will argue with you, when you will hold the one you love most. The world will ask, who is holding who? Return what you took or hold your breath for the wave. She turned, the hem of her dress writing small letters in the dust, and walked into the trees. He wanted to follow, but his legs were stubborn. The next morning, he told Adara half of the story, the half that made him look less foolish. She held his hand and said, let us pray. They prayed. Prayer has its own light. For a while, that light covered them. The wave came quietly as promised. On the day of their introduction, family members gathered, wrappers colorful like a garden. Adara's hands danced with a wrapper on her shoulder. The MC cracked jokes in Igbo and English. Children ran around like untrained goats. Rice cooked, meat sang in oil. When Adara stepped out in coral beads, Ikenna forgot to breathe. He stood to speak, to thank everybody for trusting his love. The sun was high. A child screamed, one of those screams that make silence jump. People turned. The child pointed not at Ikenna, but at the ground around him. There was nothing there. No gentle dark twin dancing around his feet. Someone dropped a plate. The quiet fell like a blanket. In that heavy quiet, an old uncle whispered, abomination. Another muttered, this boy has no roots. Women tucked their children behind their wrappers. A man made the sign of the cross. Two elders walked out. The MC's smile froze. Ikenna's mother stood up, voice shaking. Please, he is my son. But fear is a big man. He does not answer easily. The introduction ended the way a candle ends in wind. Adara cried into her hands that night. Not because she stopped loving him, but because love had just met a wall with no door. The next day, she went to him. Tell me everything, she said. No need to protect me with half truths. The truth is a blade. Let it cut. So he told her. He told her about the pool that didn't reflect, the voice that sounded like a flute in Amatan, the finger that touched his feet and took what he didn't understand. Adara listened without blinking. When he finished, she held his face. Ikenna, this thing will hit us if we let it. Let us return it. Take me to that place. The path remembered his feet. They returned to the strange clearing. The pool was there, calm like a lyre. Nwali, Ikenna called, voice breaking like a chiplet. I have come to return what you took. Take your wealth. Give me my shadow. The pool smiled without moving. Ah, Hunter, wealth is a small taste of the big fruit you asked for. There is no return. You paid with the coin you carried. Adara stepped forward, her voice sharp as a new razor. What kind of trade breaks a man's place under the sun? If he cannot return, then at least bind no harm to me. Love is not a debt. The pool's surface trembled. Your courage smells like rain, Mwali said. The forest respects you. For your sake, I will lift my hand a little. The boy will keep his wealth, but when love reaches its highest joy, the prize will speak. You will hold your answer then. They went home. Their families argued. Some told Adara to run. Some said love can climb any wall. In the end, they married quietly in a small hall behind a church with two friends and one shy photographer. They moved to a rented place at the edge of town, near the pawpaw tree just as she dreamed, and painted the roof a soft blue using their own hands. They laughed. They fought over small things and made up with roasted corn. They prayed at night and called their hopes by name. For a season, Joy lived with them and paid rent on time. Adara became pregnant. Ha, my friend, how a woman glows when a child is writing their name inside her. The town's cold eyes began to warm a little. People said maybe the boy's strange matter was just a trick of light. Ikenna built a borehole for the neighborhood. He sent donations when flood hit parts of Anambra. He was trying to change the story they told about him. He promised Adara, when the child comes, I will raise him with my two hands and with my whole heart, and even my missing shadow will learn to dance again. But the forest keeps receipts. On a Sunday afternoon, as the sun wrote gold on everything, Adara went into labor. The midwife came. The aunt prayed in one corner. Ikenna filled basins, wiped sweat, begged God. Hours passed like slow cars in traffic. Finally, a cry, sharp and beautiful. A boy, the midwife said, smiling. Then her smile faded a little as if she had lost and found it at the same time. The baby boy was perfect, but the room felt colder, like someone opened an invincible door. Ikenna reached for his son. His hands shook with joy. As he held the child, the light from the window fell across them. There, on the wall, everyone saw it. The baby's new tiny shadow, soft and fruitful, and beside it, nothing for the father. The aunt hissed between her teeth. The midwife whispered a prayer too low to catch. The baby stopped crying and stared at Ikenna with eyes that looked old. The world slowed. The door that no one opened swung wider. Someone had entered. They did not use feet. A voice filled the room, not from the door or window, not from any human mouth. Hunter, joy has reached its highest height. The prize speaks now. Ikenna clutched his son. Take me, leave my son. The voice was gentle as water. You are already taken, inside the space where your shadow used to be. The child is the depth you did not read. A shadow is not only a mark, it is also an inheritance. When you sold yours, you borrowed from the one yet to come. Adara stood up even though her body shook. No, I will stand inside any river, fight any storm. You cannot touch my child. The house shivered. The bulb flickered. The baby looked at his mother and smiled, small and strange, like someone being polite at a funeral. Then unexpectedly the door pushed open. From the outside, by human hands. The woman in the white dress from the road entered the room like she owned the air. She bowed to Adara. Mother, she said, your courage bought time for this day. The forest spirit is not the only one who keeps receipts. I have one too. The unseen voice became thin. You again. Me again, she answered, and her white dress changed, just a little, like it had borrowed light. She turned to Ikenna. Do you know me now? He stared, shaking his head. The woman closed her eyes, and when she opened them, her face was Adara's face. No, not exactly, but the resemblance stood like a family tree. She spoke softly. Many years ago, your father hunted in this same forest and made a promise he could not keep. He begged to live when sickness held his throat, promising to raise his children to respect the old path. He broke it. The debt followed him and landed on you like harmattan dust. I am the keeper of old promises. I am also what your people call the one who stands between mirrors. I have come to add mercy to judgment. Adara grabbed Ikenna's arm. What does that mean? What must we do? The woman looked at the baby and smiled with love that made the room warmer. The debt required a child, she said. But a child of what kind? A child is more than body. A child is also future, name, and the story you feed them. If a father returns what he stole from his own story, he can pay without losing the body of his child. He must return his borrowed future. He must return his public glory. He must walk back into humility and rebuild without the quick fruits of dark trade. Ikenna fell on his knees. I will sell everything. I will return all the money I can trace. I will confess what I did to my town. I will stand at noon and let them see the absence I carry. The voice of the forest spirit hissed like a snake bathing. Do not listen to her. Debt is debt. The child is mine. The woman in white turned her head and the house felt like it stood up straighter. Nwali, you touched the boy without telling me the second line of the song. You hid a clause. I call the oldest law. When there is hiding, mercy may enter. Silence held its breath. Then the bulb stopped trembling. The baby yawned, the tiny man that he was, and went to sleep like a mango dropping into soft grass. The invisible door closed. The woman looked tired suddenly, like someone who had carried a heavy chair up many stairs. She touched the baby's head and then Adara's. Raise him honest, she said. Teach him to greet dawn before the sun takes attendance. Walk in the market with your faces open. Do not make food with lies. She turned to go. Ikenna tried to speak, but his throat was in knots. Adara managed to whisper, "Thank you. Please, who are you really?" The woman paused. For a heartbeat, her feet did not touch the ground. I am what the people call a story when they are brave and a superstition when they are afraid, she said. I am also a mother like you, long ago and still. She stepped out. The door closed without a sound. The room became ordinary again, like a drum after the drummer has gone. True to his promise, Ikenna began to return what did not belong to him. He sold the big car, kept an old pickup from the farm. He gathered the boys and told them the truth, how his wealth had come too quickly, how he had bought what he did not understand. Some laughed, some cried, some walked away because the sweet smell of fast money is a strong perfume. It makes people dizzy. He went to the church and the mosque and the shrine, not to shop for favor, but to ask forgiveness. He returned donations where he could. He stood at the market square at noon and said, I have no shadow because I sold it. I was foolish. I'm asking for a chance to be a neighbor again. The councilman tried to make a speech to bury him with insults, but the market women shouted the councilman down because they remembered how he had laughed at the boy when he was poor. The woman said, We too have done foolish things for our children. Forgive is a word that feeds many. The town softened. Life grew slower, like a careful gardener. The farm did not vanish, it became honest. Not every trap was full. Some days were lean, but the food tasted better because it did not smell like fear. Ikenna rose before dawn and held his son, whom they named Somto Chuku, and whispered, My boy, you will never be a receipt for my mistakes. Adara watched and felt a new peace enter their house like morning breeze. But I did not tell you this story to give you only relief. You asked for scandal and juice. You asked for twist and shock. You asked to be kept awake. So hold your seat, for we're entering the last bend. One afternoon, when Somto was 6 months old, Adara was washing clothes behind the house. She laid the baby on a wrapper in the shade. The sun shifted. A neighbor called her to taste jollof rice and judge who cooked it best, because that argument had no end in West Africa. Adara laughed and went, looking back at her baby every two breaths, as mothers do. On the ground, next to the baby, something moved. Something that looked like the shape of a man lying down. Do not fear. No stranger had entered. It was only a patch of shadow where there should have been leaves. But the patch was not from any tree. It was from a man who had no body. It stretched. It yawned with no mouth. The baby watched it like it recognized an uncle from a dream. The shadow slid closer and closer until it touched the baby's small hand. The child gripped the dark like soft cloth and giggled, the sound pure enough to wash a wound. The shadow wrapped around the baby in a hug, and for the first time since the day, a father's shape fell softly across his son. Adara turned and saw it. For a heartbeat, she forgot how to shout. Then she screamed so loud the sky flinched. Ikenna ran from the farm, cutlass in hand. He saw his own shadow on the ground for the first time in years, not attached to him, but cuddling his son like a second blanket. The shadow rose and rose, as if taking a deep breath. It looked at Ikenna without eyes. Then it did something that no shadow had any business doing. It reached out and touched Ikenna's chest. It felt warm. It felt light and heavy at the same time. It felt home. The shadow began to climb him like a patient lizard, finding its way back to where it once belonged. It slipped into his legs, his hands, his neck, his head. It settled under his feet like a mat waiting for its owner. The sun, happy as a talkative auntie, clapped with light. Ikenna's shadow stood behind him again, not hiding, nothing, full and faithful. The baby clapped his strong baby hands. Adara fell into a chair and cried until laughter found her and helped wipe her tears. Neighbors came, they saw. Some fainted for style, some danced small steps. Word tore through the town faster than a fire. Before evening, people gathered. Before night, the councilman arrived with new humility. It is a miracle, they said. The pastor nodded. The imam smiled. The dibia closed his eyes and said, It is justice that learns to sing with mercy. That night, every house talked about it like fresh gossip from a wedding. But wait, this is not even the final surprise. I promised you something that will make you talk for days. Later that night, when Adara and Ikenna finally slept, a soft knock came on their door. The knock felt like a memory. Ikenna opened and found the woman in white again. She stood in the corridor where moonlight made small roads. Congratulations, she said. The old promise has been repaired. But there is one last truth you must hear. What truth again? Ikenna asked, smiling tiredly. Please, let my heart rest. She looked at him with eyes that held many years. You sold your shadow, yes, she said. But a shadow does not walk unless a light first chooses to exist. Many men have sold wars and never saw their shadow return. Do you know why yours came back? Because I returned the money and confessed, and walked humbly, he said like a student answering a kind teacher. She shook her head. That opened the door, but the reason the shadow found its way is because it had somewhere to return to. When you held your child and refused to trade him, when you told the world the truth even when it caught you, your soul made a shape that a shadow could recognize. A shadow cannot live with a man who has no shape inside. Now, here is the last truth, the storyteller of this tale. The one who has been guiding your steps with words was the shadow all along. Ikenna frowned. I don't understand. The woman smiled, and her smile held on. He has been speaking to you and to these listeners from quiet place beside your feet, from the cool earth where your outline sleeps at noon. He walked with you in light and waited for you in darkness. He knew every step you took, every lie you told yourself, every cry you hid. He is telling the story now so that you and those who listen will remember the price of forgetting who you are. Ikenna turned slowly and looked down. In the moonlight, his shadow looked up. Do not ask me how. Just know that in this world, there are more ways to look than with eyes. The shadow raised a hand, and I tell you the truth, the hand inside Ikenna's heart raised too. He began to understand. The woman stepped back into the night. Live well, she said. Teach your son that his shadow is not a toy but a witness. Teach him not to sell what keeps him human, and when he tells stories one day, let him speak with kindness. Remember, those who chase wealth without a witness will one day find that wealth cannot call their name. She faded. The corridor became ordinary again. A cricket sang, as crickets do when humans are done talking. And now I will close, but not with a neat bow. Because when dawn came and the town looked for signs of a miracle, they found one more thing that made their mouths open. On the dusty ground outside Ikenna's door, footprints of a woman were printed in soft ash, starting from nowhere and ending at the edge of the road, where the dust decided it would not carry secrets anymore. Above those footprints, written as if by a careful breeze, were words no one admitted to writing. Mercy is a stronger law. People argued about it for days. Some said the pastor wrote it. Some blamed the dibia. Some said the wind learned to spell. Me? I will not argue. I was there, and I was not there. I walked with Ikenna and lay flat when he stood still. I watched him sell me, and I watched him buy himself back with truth. So if you ever see a man walking at noon and his shadow is there, following like a faithful dog, do not take it for granted. And if you ever feel tempted to trade the quiet witness beneath your feet for a quick taste of sweet life, remember the hunter who learned that wealth without a shadow is a feast where the spoon melts in your mouth. Tell this to your children, tell it to your enemies, tell it to yourself when you are alone. Because I, the storyteller, was a shadow all along. The end. The moral lesson of the story is never trade your integrity and true self for quick riches because the price of losing who you are is always greater than the wealth you gain. Please kindly leave a comment, like, share, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.